What's going on, guys? Bobby with Consumer Time Capsule, and as a little change of scenery here, I am in the closet of the capsule, and that is because I am a longtime collector of magazine advertisements, which I'm sure is to the surprise of almost nobody who's followed the channel for a long time. Of course, I've always loved commercials and shared many from my collection in the early days of CTC. But today I'm coming to you for a very specific reason, and that is, I don't know if you all are aware of the news, but the FDA is strongly considering and will likely be implementing a ban on menthol cigarettes. And as a lifelong proud non-smoker, and certainly don't let this video dissuade you, I strongly encourage you to join me in that and never smoke. Don't waste your health or your money on that kind of stuff. But one thing that has made my life significantly better and has been a long-time passion of mine is Newport cigarette advertisements. Now, if you paid attention to the background of the last couple of videos, you notice that I have an entire gigantic wall in the capsule dedicated to metal Newport cigarette ads. They're pretty cool. They're really fun to display. Where it all started for me as a collector, the very first thing that I probably ever collected in my life at about 4 years old was Newport cigarette ads out of magazines. All of my relatives would save their magazines, and that was a really fun memory that I have of my childhood, and maybe a little weird one, but hey, I never ended up smoking, right? So I mean, how effective could they really be? But take a look at this binder collection that I have here. And then we're going to dig inside and reminisce about certainly better days for Lorillard and the rest of the, tobacco manufacturers that produce menthol cigarettes. And we'll take a look at some of the most interesting, the funniest, most controversial Newport cigarette ads of all time. This may not be a video that you think that you're going to be interested in, but I strongly encourage you to stick around because this stuff is really fun, really entertaining, and I know it's a very divisive subject, right? There are those that really believe in kind of maintaining freedoms and the kind of open market. There are those that believe that it's the government's responsibility to propose and implement regulations that are in the best interest of public safety. I can see things from either side, so I don't want to really make it political or anything like that. We're just going to look at the ads, we're going to laugh about the ads, we're going to have fun with the ads. This is not turning into a political opinion piece. So let's check out the binders. Here we go, 24 binders of magazine ads, plus a little four bonus binders of Pogs, longtime Pog collector as well. But you see right up top here, binder number 1, Newport 1972 to 85. Binder number 2, Newport 1986 to 1991. Binder number 3, Newport 1992 to 2015. Those are the centerpiece of this very large collection of magazine ads, and we're going to be digging inside of these with some scans. We're going to look at some of my favorite and some of the most noteworthy ads of the 70s, 80s, and 90s from Newport. Well, I apologize for the absolutely awful video quality here, but we're using my laptop for the first ever CTC corporate meeting here on Zoom. So I'm going to share my screen to show you 15 Newport cigarette ads that kind of help paint the picture, and some fun ones and some important ones from throughout the years. We're going to start here, but the history of Newport actually predates this ad. Newport cigarettes were introduced in 1957 by the Lorillard Tobacco Company, and very soon thereafter became the top-selling menthol cigarette on the market. Newport itself got its name from a seaport in Rhode Island. So most of the kind of late 50s and throughout the 60s advertising that you'd see with Newport cigarettes were all kind of boat and sea themed. So like fishermen, and it's a very niche audience. It's a little bit weird that they would even kind of try for that. But by the or I guess early to mid 70s, they had converted over to a different format, which is the ad format that you're seeing here. But first, I think it's important to bring attention to this kind of iconic package that Newport has, and particularly this logo, because man, I just don't understand how they got away with it for so freaking long. But this is the packaging design from their introduction, and that logo looks an awful lot like a Nike swoosh. So if this is from 1957 and the Nike swoosh is from 1971, all you would need to do is just kind of flip this logo over to be this way instead. And now you have the most iconic logo, maybe in marketing history. And in my opinion, at least from what I can tell, I don't know what the legal implications of saying something like this are, but allegedly, I think that Nike stole the logo from Newport, right? I mean, that's as clear as day. Nonetheless, they're a cigarette company, so I don't think that they're getting a lot of legal victories. So anyway, we're in the mid 70s here now. This is 1973. And so they switched over the format of their ads to kind of have a deep green background, some minimal phrasing, and a picture of folks having fun. So their slogan was "Alive with Pleasure." One of the kind of more fun details of that, and I guess, I don't know, maybe more snide details is a better way of saying it, is they underword the word alive, even though, of course, there's FTC and Surgeon General, and public health interests that require them to say that their product will potentially kill you, but they're underlining the word alive. So I always found that a little bit odd, and maybe that caught up with them a little bit, because by late 1974, it was just "Alive with Pleasure" without the underline. But the kind of full motto in the 70s was "Alive with Pleasure." After all, if smoking isn't a pleasure, why bother? I don't know. I guess it's an interesting stance that they have there, but this is very typical of that early to mid 70s look. They would have like a couple that was, having some degree of fun, and, in most cases, both were smoking, like in this one. But things got a lot more absurd very quickly, and that's really what sparks my interest in Newport. For example, this 1977 ad, as you notice, no longer underlining "Alive with Pleasure," or the alive part of the "Alive with Pleasure" slogan. And look at this. This is just so ludicrous. It is a guy who is taking a bite of a giant icicle and kind of grossing out his girlfriend here. No cigarettes in sight. You just gotta love it. I mean, that's a cigarette ad. Like this ad is designed to get you to smoke. I just love how ludicrous that is. We're now in the early 80s. Very similar format of the ad to the 70s. But boy, they're getting even more just ridiculousness with their subject matters here. And look at this guy. He's dressed like a snowman. I don't believe that this is actually a snowman, but it could be. I don't know. What do you guys think? Is that a snowman with just like a very shapely face? Or is this a mask of some sort? I don't know. Maybe that's a real, I never really looked that close. Maybe that's a real snowman that she's posing with. Nonetheless, she's having fun, and the snowman is smoking a pipe, not a cigarette. Not every Newport ad followed this format, so in 1978, they started advertising their light cigarettes. I'm going to show you an ad from 1982 with a woman dancing with a lion. Most Newport Lights ads would end up having a slogan that said "Revive your tastes." Most meaningful difference was they had a bright yellow background instead of the deep green. But man, this is just so sweet. I love this. That just makes you feel good, right? So you got a girl in her half lion costume, her lion bodysuit, and a guy with the lion face dancing with one another. I mean, these people do seem alive with pleasure. They're not smoking, but they're seem to be having a pretty great time. Sometimes they would do these kind of these kind of niche side brands like Newport 100s. And, in this case, there is a 5-cent gumball machine, but this lady hit the jackpot. I mean, they even are using the earliest version of Photoshop to have the kind of die cut look to the gumballs here. I'm not even capable of that level of editing all these years later, but this is a fun ad from 1973, hitting that gumball jackpot. All right, so here's where the controversy really hits, as if just being a cigarette ad isn't enough. So in 1985, there was an ad in the springtime called Candy Box. It ran in Time Magazine, People Magazine, and Women's Day, and it was the subject of an FTC investigation because this woman kind of appears to be pregnant, and this does kind of seem like, I don't know, maybe some proud soon-to-be papa spoiling his pregnant gal. There was, a pretty major FTC investigation, and they had to pull this ad from a number of different Time magazines and stop, kind of the future display of this ad until they properly defended themselves. Now, I just recently actually came across this unexpectedly in a June 11th, 1985 Women's Day magazine. Here's a picture of when I found it in the wild. There was like an Associated Press 100-person survey, and they found that all 100 thought that this woman might be pregnant. Look, I guess it turns out that if you see the full uncropped image, which was never shared publicly, but was shared with the FTC, that I guess the woman is in tight jeans, and if you kind of saw her midriff, you would notice that, she's very clearly not pregnant. They're not quite that bold, and I don't know what they'd really have to gain by depicting a pregnant woman in their ad. All that they had to do was, I guess, in mid-November of 1985, they did issue an apology for any kind of confusion or, any kind of any upset or unrest that they caused by showing an ad that, I don't know. It does she does kind of look like she might be pregnant. I don't know. But so yeah, this is definitely the most infamous of the Newport cigarette ads. So Newport Lights 1985 Candy Box. You can Google it and kind of see some court documents and some news stories from the time. But this was a pretty big deal. If this woman was in fact pregnant, I think that would have been a, God only knows, that might have probably been a world record setting fine that they would have to pay, and, might have been the end of this ad campaign permanently. Newport, being the success that it was, they really wanted to kind of expand their target audience and kind of take a bite out of that whole Capri, Misty, Virginia Slims audience. And they had the latest in pleasure, Newport Stripes for Women, with a lighter, more gentle color scheme and a all-female cast in the ads, like these gals playing away at the keyboard in 1987. It really didn't last too long. By 1990, really don't see any advertising for it. I would assume that was as the result of it being discontinued probably around that same time frame. Oh, look at this. I love this. So 1988, here, look at this. This guy's just got a big old megaphone on this girl's face. Like, oh my gosh, this is just so ludicrous. I just love this stuff, man. I wish you guys could feel what I'm feeling right now. I love this stuff. Oh my God. I just can't believe that's a cigarette ad. That is so hilarious. Oh man, so this one's good. I personally named this one. I'm pretty proud of it. Iron Man. So this guy, he is getting his shirt ironed while he's wearing it, which is absolutely hilarious. One of my favorite one of my favorite Newport ads of all time. God, this is just so much fun. Just amazing. Love it. And okay, so by 1990, that kind of ad format, it had got a little bit tiresome. They had been doing the white on green format for 17 years and decided to mix it up with a very bold color of orange that I think is most closely associated with Newport to this day. Another snowman. This one's got a whole basket of fruit and vegetables on its head, but you got a guy giving. It's an awful young looking kid too. I could totally see how they would think that this was marketed towards children. You get a big old snowman. I think that this is a legitimate snowman, not somebody in a costume this time. And again, a big old hug from somebody who presumably had some hand in making it. Once again, no cigarettes in sight. All right, so continuing on, 1992. So we're deeply in the orange territory now, and this guy's just running up a brick wall, but this girl's real impressed by it. I love it. Look at the clothes, like just the bold clothing. It looks like, are those fish? Is he wearing an aquatic themed shirt? And maybe a callback to the 50s and 60s ad campaign. So you had a guy holding a basketball, but the creative license of the artist here replaced his basketball with flowers and replaced his face with his basketball. So I love it. Boy, what I wouldn't give for this this drawing, this sketch that is produced in this particular advertisement. Man, I would love to frame that up and hang it in the capsule prominently. I just love it. Beautiful. This is such a fun one. Like, this guy is getting his palm read, and he brings in, first off, where do you find an entire 5-finger with the all the detail work involved for a foam finger? Usually you just get the one finger being held up, but this fortune teller did not know what she was in store for, but she's being a good sport about it. What a fun, just imagine being around for that photo session. I bet that was just a blast. And the creativity in play here, regardless of your stance on cigarettes and cigarette advertising and all that stuff, you got to appreciate just how fun and inventive and creative that this stuff is. I love it. So unfortunately, by the mid 2000s, they were heavily restricted with where and how they could advertise. I mean, by 1997 or 8, they couldn't put up billboards, and then it was magazines were restricted with a number of ads that they could actually use, tobacco and cigarette imagery in. So it kind of fizzled off. You see this Newport Pleasure ad from 2006, and it's just guy and a girl on a bike. It lacks the creativity. It lacks the fun. I don't even know if they are alive with pleasure. I think they're just saying it. I don't know. I guess this guy maybe's having a little bit of fun, but nothing like making a snowman or going to a fortune teller. My personal favorite Newport ad is one that every single person watching this video has seen and maybe doesn't even know it. So if you look at the avatar for the YouTube channel, my Twitter account, or pretty much anything that I do, you might notice a guy in full fencing gear with a woman on both arms. I just think that this is so ludicrous to be a cigarette ad. So you get a fencer and a couple girls on his arm. You've probably seen this image anytime that CTC has come across your desk and not even known that it's a 1983 Newport cigarette ad. Newport is just such a fun and important part of my collecting history that I really wanted it to be an early impression for folks on the channel. It's something that I do hang up in frame and put on my wall. And I miss it already. I guess it won't really matter to me too much if they do discontinue selling menthol cigarettes, but I did think it was a good time to reminisce on better times for us Newport ad enthusiasts, which might be just me, but hey, maybe if you're like-minded enough to like advertising and marketing and kind of consumer culture, maybe I've opened your eyes to a fun new little niche. Once again, I want to dissuade anybody from smoking. This is not designed to take a lighthearted approach to a serious subject matter, but I do want you guys to at least kind of see what I see, and I think that it's been fun to share some Newport ads. Now, last time, of course, we had more of a blog style trip, and you haven't done any big buying trips here recently, but in the July 1st CTC blog, there will be a big purchase that I'll be making, and I think that it's going to be one that you guys are going to like. No cigarettes involved. We're back on the McDonald's track. So you never know what you're going to find on the next CTC video. But until next time, I will miss you until I see you. And you know what? Go follow me on Twitter too. It's @ConsumerTC. I post stuff every day there now. So, that way we can stay in contact and you guys can see some of the stuff from my archives. So like I said, miss till I see you. Bye.